This right here is what a predator looks like. I caught this guy underneath my daughter's stall.
Noticed an individual getting into the car, but all I could see was a hood. And the car took away.
No, you are not going there. I am going there. Yes, you are going there.
No. Still following me.
In this clip, a woman courageously steps forward to expose a horrifying situation that unfolded inside a busy shopping mall. The footage begins with her stating that she intends to reveal what a real predator looks like. The camera then cuts to a man seated on the floor, visibly humiliated and defeated. The man was caught in the act after being seen watching a 12-year-old girl while she was changing clothes. The woman explains that she noticed him hiding beneath her daughter's fitting room stall. She describes how she chased after him and refused to let him escape. Speaking directly to him, she makes it clear that his behavior will not be ignored. Determined to prevent this from happening again, she promises to expose his identity so he cannot continue violating the privacy of young girls. While filming, she orders him to face the camera.
This right here is what a predator looks like. I caught this guy underneath my daughter's stall while she was changing in Route 21, and I had to chase him all the way down. Thankfully, I got him. Not today, buddy. Not today. I'm gonna make sure your face gets out so that you're not in any more stalls looking under little girls dressing. Look at the camera. Look at the camera.
I'm not entitled to over there, officer.
I don't care. I'm gonna make sure you go viral.
She boldly voices her outrage, making it clear that she will not accept this kind of behavior toward her daughter or any other child. She emphasizes that the incident happened only days before her daughter was about to turn 12, underscoring just how serious and disturbing the situation truly is.
You're a a 12-year-old girl. 12-year-old girl, that's what she gets for her birthday. It's her birthday in 2 days. And she gets some sick looking under her stall, trying to grab her.
She asks the man whether he has children, admitting she's relieved that he does not. The fury in her voice is unmistakable as she reflects on the lasting emotional damage he has inflicted on her daughter's innocence.
Do you have kids? You're so lucky. You're so lucky that I don't hurt you, because that's what I want to do right now. Because what you did to her, you're gonna leave a scar on my daughter permanently. Are you happy with yourself? And you better bet your ass I'm gonna be at every single court date.
She pledges to be present at every court appearance, determined to see him face serious consequences and spend a long time behind bars. In this clip, the individual demands that the person following her stop and leave her alone. When he begins questioning her, she courageously stands her ground and confronts him directly.
You used to work here?
Yes. Mr. Dwyer, I'm a minor. I do not want you to keep coming in here to find me.
I don't know who you are.
Family.
I don't know who you are.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, sir.
Security camera footage shows a woman having an outburst, accompanied by on-screen captions from the creator to help explain what she is saying. This behavior had been happening for an extended period, with numerous recordings documenting her ongoing harassment of both the creator and nearby residents. In short, the woman repeatedly showed up at the creator's residence, shouting, making threats, or silently watching, despite violating 3 active protection orders. The most recent update revealed that the court attributed her actions to mental health issues. Although the stalker is currently on probation, authorities declined to place her in jail. The judge warned, however, that another violation of the protection order would result in prison time. The creator still has 1 year remaining on the order and is pursuing a permanent restraining order. In 2021, Sushi Potato is seen interacting with an unfamiliar man on the street. He starts by asking simple questions about her background, but the situation quickly takes a disturbing turn when he begins behaving inappropriately and crosses physical boundaries.
오케이, 오케이. 조조 잘 보지. 조조조조조조 오빠 있을 거에 잘 보지, please.
She becomes visibly distressed and orders him to leave. Fortunately, she has water on hand and throws it at him, forcing him to retreat. The encounter could have escalated into something far more dangerous. What makes it even more unsettling is that the man was fully aware he was being recorded and showed no concern at all. A resident is approached at their door by a neighbor behaving in an unusual manner. The homeowner responds carefully, explaining that they are currently occupied with work, but asks how they can help. When they repeat the question, the neighbor's answer remains vague. The visitor begins referencing past encounters between them. Raising concern, feeling uneasy, the resident presses further, asking directly why the neighbor has come by.
Hi, can I help you?
Hey, so what?
I'm at work right
So
now.
what?
Can I help you?
Okay, I'll come back then. I'm just your neighbor from down the road. I'll get back with you then.
Yeah,
I'll come
I
back.
see you've
When you
come
get
a
off
few
work.
times. What do you need?
The neighbor pauses, saying only that they have a couple of things they want to ask. Unsure what this is about, the resident asks them to explain further. The neighbor loosely mentions a discussion from about a year earlier and briefly brings up their child. Concerned about making things uncomfortable, the neighbor suggests returning at another time, leaving the encounter unsettled for the moment. Lane claims she has been repeatedly followed by a man near her apartment complex. After noticing an unfamiliar individual, her father steps in, confronting the situation on camera.
He's stalking me. He's inside of my bed. What are you doing now?
The father was already expecting the man, having seen Lane enter the elevator and noticed someone following her closely. Tension builds as Lane voices her fear, describing how unsettling and invasive the situation feels. The father then steps forward and confronts the individual, demanding to know why he followed them upstairs.
Keep coming up here. Like, you see me, like...
Hey, if you guys are going like in different directions,
Yeah, but you see me come on the elevator and watched me get on the elevator and came up here. Like, I don't...
Oh, yeah, no, I wasn't trying to be like that. Like,
Okay, well... Please go about your day.
The man appears nervous and rattled, struggling to give a clear explanation. The footage highlights how suspicious and dangerous individuals frequently roam shopping centers and retail stores, looking for people to prey on. It implies that many shoppers might feel safer ordering what they need online, instead of exposing themselves to potential threats in public spaces. The segment then centers on a woman who, without realizing it, becomes the focus of someone following her.
Noticed an individual getting into the car, but all I could see was a hood. And the car took away at a pretty rapid pace.
Once she finishes shopping, she heads back home, not realizing that the person in the hood is following behind her. The individual waits outside her house, but is ultimately chased off by her dog. Authorities later confirmed that multiple people had been followed home in the same way by this suspect, who has since been identified by police. In this clip, a young boy is seen heading inside his home, while a red pickup truck sits parked nearby. Moments later, the driver moves the vehicle closer to the house and begins walking toward the front door with clear intent. He reaches for the entrance but suddenly stops and turns away, likely after noticing the doorbell camera. The footage strongly suggests his intentions were questionable, leaving viewers uneasy about what he may have planned. The person who shared the footage included a written explanation. They stated that over a 4-day period, a man had been standing outside their building, dressed in a dark hoodie and looking into their apartment windows. The video was recorded to serve as proof after friends and relatives questioned the situation. The footage was captured in the early morning hours on August 22nd, 2016, around 3 a.m. the person filming decided to step outside in an attempt to frighten the man off. What followed was deeply unsettling. The individual vanished completely, leaving no sign of where he went, almost as if he had disappeared into thin air. As night set in, a couple was preparing to go to bed when an alert from their doorbell camera suddenly went off. Startled, they rushed out of bed, their fear quickly rising. Opening the app on their phone, they saw a man on the screen, attempting to remove the window screen in an effort to break into their house. Their hearts raced as they watched him struggle until he finally abandoned his attempt and walked away. Afterward, they felt a wave of relief. The window remained intact, and they were unharmed, safely inside their home.
We jumped up because it was really scary and looked at the ring, and there was a man attempting to take our screen off and go into our window.
Wanting to assist law enforcement, the couple provided officers with a clear description of the suspect using the footage captured by their camera. They believed the man was trying to enter as quickly as possible, but his attempt failed when he couldn't figure out how to remove the window screen. Although the experience left them shaken, they were thankful that no one was hurt and their home remained secure. In the end, the doorbell camera served as an extra layer of protection, standing guard against the threat outside their door. In this footage, a man can be seen walking through a Walmart while staying unusually close to a young woman named Ashley. Although he appears to be blending in, it quickly becomes clear that his movements are deliberate. He isn't browsing the store at random, he is intentionally following her. Watching the situation unfold is deeply unsettling. The young woman continues shopping, seemingly unaware that someone with harmful intentions is tracking her every move. As the video goes on, it's impossible not to feel concern for her safety. The atmosphere grows increasingly tense. The man's behavior leaves no room for innocent explanation. Stalking is never acceptable under any circumstances, and her well-being is clearly at risk. All that can be hoped for is that she notices what's happening in time and takes action to keep herself safe.
As the vlogger walks around a busy marketplace, he sees lots of shops and people. He notices a man in the crowd who catches his attention. The man is a bit aggressive, but also strangely friendly. The vlogger tries to give hints that he wants to be alone, but the man doesn't leave. The vlogger doesn't let this bother him and keeps exploring. He goes to a nearby booth to buy something from a local seller. Unfortunately, the persistent stranger follows him and gets too close to him. The vlogger has to ask the man many times to leave him alone, but the stranger keeps insisting that he needs help. Feeling frustrated, the vlogger firmly tells the man that he doesn't need any help and wants to be left alone.
Growing irritated, the vlogger finally makes it clear that no assistance is needed and firmly tells the man to leave him alone.
No, you are not going there. I am going there. Yes, you are going there. No.
Yes, again.
You there, me there. You there, then I there.
Despite his efforts, the man continues trailing him wherever he moves. The vlogger grows increasingly irritated as it becomes clear the stranger has no intention of leaving. Searching for a way out of the situation, he briefly considers buying the man alcohol to divert his attention, but hesitates, not wanting to encourage or justify the unwanted behavior. He later shares his frustration, explaining that he had already told the man multiple times to leave him alone.
If I go in there and buy him whiskey or something, he will off. The problem is I don't want to reward his behavior. Like, he's not contributing at all. I've told him to get lost many times.
Eventually, after what seemed like an endless encounter, the man finally leaves. Reflecting on what happened, the vlogger realizes that even when he directly told the stranger to stop, his requests were completely ignored.
The sad thing is that the times when you do try to say, like, please stop, then they don't stop. But anyway, I think he's lost now.
In the end, the vlogger's firm and consistent approach succeeds in driving the follower away. He later reflects on the situation, questioning how much longer the stranger might have continued if he hadn't stood his ground. A collection of unsettling videos began surfacing on YouTube, originally posted to a channel known as Mr. Peeper, which was later removed for violating platform guidelines. Despite the takedown, copies of the footage continued to resurface across other channels. The clips are largely low-quality recordings, filmed handheld, appearing to show a man secretly following multiple women. Stories soon emerged claiming that the footage had been discovered by an unknown person inside an abandoned car hidden in the woods. According to the rumors, a plastic bag taped to the roof of the vehicle contained a small SD card. holding all of the Mr. Peeper recordings. The videos rapidly gained attention online, spreading through forums as viewers debated whether the footage was genuine or part of an experimental online project. Some believed the clips documented the disturbing behavior of a dangerous stalker, carefully choosing his targets. Others argued it was an incomplete art experiment created by a bold student. To this day, the origin and purpose of the videos remain a mystery. The footage continues to feel deeply unsettling, and no one can say with certainty whether it represents reality or fiction. A young woman suddenly realized she was being followed by a man. She immediately activated her camera and began recording, capturing what appeared to be a peeping Tom as he trailed her around what seemed to be a campus courtyard.
Y'all, I don't know what to do. I am being followed by this guy right here in the white pants and gray shirt.
The girl sounds visibly frightened, clearly unsure of what to do. The man following her can be seen dressed in white pants and a gray shirt. Wherever she moves, he remains close behind.
I'm gonna walk across the park and sit on that little bench right there, okay?
Each time she looks around, he's still there, staying within her line of sight and watching her movements. As she continues walking around the area, the man slowly moves toward her, then turns away at the last moment to avoid attracting attention. He suddenly cuts across the grassy area, continuing to stay close no matter which direction she takes. Despite everything, she keeps watching him closely. The clip runs for almost 2 minutes, which is unusually long for a TikTok video, but it may have worked in her favor since she started recording early. The uploader, known as Yara Phoenix, typically features casual vlog content with nothing unusual happening beneath the surface. However, one particular video stands out as deeply unsettling. It begins like any normal upload, showing the creator walking through a lively street filled with pedestrians and shop owners in a familiar part of his city. Before long, though, it becomes apparent that something is wrong, as a suspicious man can be seen repeatedly following him through the crowd.
He's still following me after repeatedly telling him I have no more money, which is a complete, utter fabrication. No more. Joe.
The person filming seems to realize what's happening and deliberately avoids reacting, likely out of concern that acknowledging the man could make the situation escalate. In a quiet residential area where homes sit close together, the morning began like any other. Nothing seemed out of place. Then, without warning, a woman suddenly appeared. Using a pickaxe, she violently struck the front door of a house with full force. She didn't stop there. She swung again, shattering the glass, as screams could be heard coming from inside. The person responsible was a woman wearing a skirt. After causing the initial damage, she walked away calmly, as if nothing had occurred. But the destruction wasn't over. She returned multiple times, smashing additional windows and terrifying the occupants inside. Inside the home, a grandmother was caring for her 6-week-old grandchild. Acting immediately, she moved to protect the baby. Within moments, the infant's sleeping area was covered in sharp shards of broken glass, turning a place of safety into a dangerous scene.
First instinct was to grab the baby. 2 seconds later, all you see is huge shards of glass in the bassinet where she was.
The chaos carried on for several more minutes before the attacker eventually fled. She vanished just as suddenly as she arrived, leaving nothing behind but the damage caused by her violent outburst. The woman recorded footage showing a man trailing her all the way to her home. She attempted to reason with him and explain that he needed to leave, but he refused to go away.
Don't follow me, go home. Go home then. Go home then. If you're not following me, go. Leave. Because you're not leaving me alone, you just tried to follow me home. Walk to your house then. No, I don't want you to see where I live. Leave. Go. Listen, you can either leave or I can call the police and tell them that you're trying to follow me. Leave then. Yeah? This man tried to follow me home. across the road.
She later said that her grandmother heard her calling out and eventually came to her aid.